Fantasy Roundtable. I'm Erin here with Dave and Jeff, and we're going to talk to you about our sleeper picks for Week 10. Jeff, do you have any deep sleepers this week?
I have a real deep sleeper. I saw a quarterback on the list that
Matt Ryan?
That's one.
Hey, good one.
I've got one even cheaper than that, though. I couldn't believe it. It's because they're not sure if he's going to play yet. EJ Manuel, okay? If this guy plays, he's a great pick. $8,000, $9,000 in that range. He's going against the Steelers. Looks like a good matchup, or a tough matchup, right? But again, dig a little deeper. Steelers haven't played anyone good. New England just tore them apart last week. They gave up 40 points to Chicago and 34 to Minnesota. I mean, this is not an elite defense that everyone thinks it is. They're going to give up a bunch of points. And EJ Manuel, he's mobile too. He'll get you rushing yards. I don't know how mobile he'll be first coming back off this injury, but I like that pick just at that price.
I would like it better if I were confident that him coming back meant he could run the ball a lot.
Exactly.
He's a quarterback who has to pad his stats with running the ball. Unfortunately, you've got Spiller healthy now and Jackson healthy. So you got two backs who you don't really need the quarterback to run that much. Manuel would run if he were healthy. But his first game back, I don't really see the need to put him in that situation. So, and plus Pittsburgh is far worse against the run than they are against the pass. So I can see Buffalo going in there thinking we're going to try to run the ball all day against these guys.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. I think that Spiller and Jackson both being healthy is a great thing for them. They're both really good at receiving the ball. So Manuel can throw it 2 yards and end up with a 70-yard play. I mean, really, that could easily happen multiple times. And he's a really good quarterback. I'm really high on this guy. I think long-term he's going to be very good. And I don't think he's as bad of a passer as you think. I don't think he needs the rushing yards. I think that's just a nice bonus if we get that.
I'm going to start my sleeper list with a wide receiver, a guy who you could put in the lineup Monday night. You need to make a little comeback. You've saved this guy for Monday night. He could surprise your opponent. That's Brian Hartline of the Dolphins. What makes him a good selection? Well, first off, I've talked about I think Tampa Bay is going to be competitive in this game. I think it's going to be a game where Miami has to throw the ball to be successful. Tampa's not a good pass defense team, but they do have Revis to blanket Wallace all over the field. So you take Wallace out of the equation, who are they going to throw the ball to? I think Hartline could be a guy who gives you 5, 6, 7 catches, 60 yards. If he gives you that touchdown, which you'd have no history of this, but if he gives you that touchdown, all of a sudden you've shocked your opponent on Monday night.
Yeah, what do you have, 1 touchdown last year? I don't know, but it's an okay pick. It's very risky, but he can establish himself as a PPR guy in a game. He can put up the 7, 8 catch totals, so that's good, but he's not going to be in any of my lineups.
Yeah, my sleeper pick is also a wide receiver. I went with Mike Brown. Now that Blackman was smart enough to get himself suspended, it's an even bleaker scene in Jacksonville. Cecil Shorts could see an increase in touches, but I think Mike Brown coming in as the clear-cut number 2 will also see a lot more action. This is a team who gets a lot of garbage touchdowns, has to throw the ball a lot. They're never ahead by a lot. So I think he's incredibly cheap. He might be a sort of a surprise now that Blackman's out of the picture.
I think he's a good guy to keep on your radar the rest of the season. I mean, not just this week. I'm not crazy about the matchup this week, but I do think there are going to be games, especially games where you can project they're going to get blown out, and there's going to be plenty of them. There's already been plenty of them. He's done well in these blowout games as someone who's going to stay on the field in the fourth quarter when they're down by 3, 4 touchdowns and get you that 1 extra touchdown maybe. I think there are going to be good opportunities for him down the line. Like I said, as a sleeper, okay, but I don't think this is, would be my favorite spot for him.
Yeah, I think I'm with you there, Dave. It's a guy that I will maybe keep an eye on, but for some reason I'm not buying into all this hype that he's getting right now. I haven't seen anything from him that makes me think that he's going to become a viable fantasy option. I think that this Blackman news is great for Cecil Shorts. Cecil Shorts is 4th in the league in targets, even with Blackman playing some games. So I think Cecil Shorts is just going to be a wide receiver 1 moving forward, and I actually wouldn't mind him as a sleeper this week.
I guess it depends on your definition of sleeper. Speaking of definition of sleeper, do you have another one out there that you like this week?
There's a couple guys I like. I think you had mentioned if you're not going to get one of those elite tight ends, to just go with the cheapest one, and I've had that strategy a lot over the last few years even. And if you want the cheapest tight end there is, go with Corliss. Corliss actually got some targets this last game. And with Aaron Rodgers out, a lot of times you'll see the backup favoring the tight ends and not taking a ton of chances. I can see Corliss putting up a decent game at $5,000. You're looking at 10 to 12 points is what you're hoping for. I could see that easily happening.
I like that selection. I agree with everything you said there. I think we've talked about that game being a conservative type game. I think Green Bay's passing game now is going to be more of a shorter passing game with a backup quarterback in there. Like you said, when that's the case, they tend to look at the tight end a lot.
I also agree. Obviously, I agree with that strategy. I brought it up earlier. I have a cheap tight end, and that's Timothy Wright. He plays for the Buccaneers. I think Glennon might see him pretty well. He's shown that he's gotten a couple touchdowns in the last few weeks, and Miami has not been good against the tight end position so far this season. So again, for a very, very cheap price, I could see him seeing the end zone, getting some looks.
Okay, enough of these cheap bottom of the barrel tight ends. I've got a running back this week, a cheap running back who's going to come out of nowhere and have a monster game this week. Monster game.
Andre Brown.
It's exactly who it is.
Knew it.
Andre Brown of the Giants. The Giants have gotten fantasy production out of Brandon Jacobs and Peyton Hillis off the street. I mean, these guys have no right being in the NFL. These guys have come in and actually put up decent fantasy numbers. Here's Andre Brown, who's been injured all year long. He's been working out. It's not like he's coming back and they're rushing him back. They've really taken their time with him. He's ready to go against the Raiders team on the road, which we just saw get blown out at home. Here's a guy who I think could put up definitely top 10 running back numbers this week, top 10 overall running back numbers this week at a very cheap price. Very highly recommended guy, Andre Brown of the Giants.
I'm jealous that you said it first. Yeah, Andre Brown is a guy that was in my lineup, but he's very risky, so I ended up taking him out. I ended up spending very little money at my quarterback position, so I ended up with a lot better running backs than I thought I was going to have. But if I wanted to spend a lot on a Jimmy Graham or a Peyton Manning, Andre Brown's got to be in your lineup, assuming these injury reports come out positive and it sounds like he's going to start. My concern is, I know what people are going to say is that Andre Brown's saying that he's not even going to play a ton, all right? But that's Tom Coughlin. That's not, I think that's a little bit of, them trying to disguise what they're going to do in this game, and I'm not really that worried about it all. Andre Brown says they've got a package for him, but they're going to work him in slowly. I don't buy it at all.
Well, they have no other option.
Exactly.
I mean, they brought in Peyton Hillis, who should be carrying the ball one time a game, and he's carrying the ball
for the CFL.
12, 15 times. I mean, it's not like, Andre, we need you to come off the field. We have... Oh, wait a minute, we don't have anybody else. Andre, get back out there.
Yeah,
and like I said, it's not like he's iffy. I mean, they've been pointing to this week for a long time. He's been practicing. They've been waiting for this day. I mean, here's a guy who not only this week, but over the course of the rest of the season, he's going to become like Zach Stacy. He's going to be a guy whose value goes up and up and up as he becomes their featured back. Again, they have no other option on a team that's had some running success without anybody with any skill. So I'm very high on this guy.
You are on the Andre Brown train.
Absolutely.
Do you have, well, actually, in that game, I have a sleeper running back as well on the other side of the ball. Maybe not a sleeper. McFadden's hurt again, so somebody has to play running back for the Raiders, and it's going to be Jennings. He's cheap. The one concern I have would be Reese taking some of the carries, but at the price, I think that Rashad Jennings could be a sleeper pick and get plenty of yards. He did a lot in relief of McFadden last week, so it might happen again against a Giants defense that is very poor against the run.
Yeah, I don't know that's necessarily a sleeper. Like you said, it depends on what you call a sleeper, but yeah, starting running back that you can get for cheap are good ways to go if you're looking to save some money and then stack wide receiver or another position.
I guess my concern would be, my feeling about running backs is if you can be competitive in the game, you run the ball a lot. If you're projected to win the game by a lot, you're going to run the ball a lot. But if you're projected to lose the game by a significant amount, you usually don't run the ball a lot. Well, how are the Raiders going to do in this game? They're very hard to predict. Based on last week, you would say they get blown out in this game. And that's kind of what I expect. I don't expect them to go to New York and be competitive at all.
Look at Stacy and James the last couple games, though. Those were teams that were favored or underdogs by a lot, and those guys had success.
Well, not Stacy.
2 weeks ago.
Well, last week, his big game came, a game that It's
You had a
pick'em game.
huge game against Seattle where they were huge
Well, not like
underdogs
last week.
2 weeks ago.
No, I understand.
And then last week, Mike James had success. So.
I'm not convinced that this Raiders-Giants game is going to be that big of a blowout. We'll see what happens, but the Giants have not impressed me so far this year, especially their defense. But that's what a sleeper's for, right? All right, those are our sleeper picks for this week.